Welcome, Flickin' Fanatics, to News and Views on the Flickin' Real Fancast. I am your host, Jesse Swift, accompanied as always by Scott Fox and his chickens. Whether you are watching us on YouTube or listening to the podcast on any of your favorite podcast apps, we are so happy that you are joining us today, and we can't wait to share our thoughts with you. Thank you for always supporting us. You are the reason we keep doing this every day. If you look on our thumbnail here, you see we got some fun things to talk about. We're going to be talking about San Diego Comic-Con coming up this week and all the good stuff that comes with that, whether it be DC, Marvel, various streaming services, maybe a little bit of the Sandman. And then we're going to be breaking down and discussing the Rings of Power trailer with our Tolkien expert, Scott Fox. And then we'll let you know what we're reading and watching this week and what we recommend for you. And we will join you right after the jump.
Good morning. You're muted.
It's still trying to play the video on my side.
So it's bogging down your whole line.
Yeah, it's doing fantastic. Scott, sir, how are you doing?
I am well. I am quite well. Back from a 2-week vacation. The week prior to that, I was sick, and it's just been kind of a roller coaster, but back, everything's gravy. And so excited to finally be talking about some stuff, especially because one of our topics today literally makes my heart go pitter-patter.
Yeah, we got should we just call this the first Tolkien Talks episode with Scott Fox?
We might as well. We might as well. Well, our lead-in, what is it? Thumbnail is the Rings of Power. So clearly, hopefully, people understand that we'll be taking up a substantial portion of the show.
Right. There is and if I seem a little disconjointed right now, the video's literally still skipping and playing through. I don't have visual on our faces. It's having a whole issue. My computer rocks. I just got updated internet that Xfinity forced me through. They're like, hey, you're going to pay $30 more. We don't have a cheaper option, and it's going to be twice as fast. Well, it doesn't feel that way. So thank you, Xfinity. This episode brought to you by constantly disappointed in your wireless services and such.
That's a fairly standard customer review for Xfinity.
Yeah.
When it works, you can't find a better product. But then there's all the other times. And the price is stupid. Yeah. So, you take the good with the bad.
Absolutely.
It's not your internet, get a better computer. Well, Sean may have a point there, Jesse.
Listen, my income is roughly...
Sean, you're on the show. You can't do that.
Unsubscribing will not help me get a new computer. In fact, if you would like
hilarious.
to see me get a new computer,
yeah, Sean. Oh no, I'm one of the co-hosts for one of the shows, and I'm on Flickin' Real all the time, but I don't subscribe. I would never watch that material.
Yeah, never. Of course not. So yeah, if you guys saw down below,
and subscribe, click the bell, people.
Absolutely. Then you can be notified of all the cool content that we release. And our Fridays and Saturdays are very busy. It might be a little silence on the Western Front during the rest of the week, but Friday nights we have our speakeasy and review show of whatever is hot that week. Lately it's been Miss Marvel, and then before that it was Obi-Wan. And then we have our speakeasy where we talk about, whatever. And then Saturday mornings we wake up bright and early with you guys, drink our coffee, and talk about what went on this week. And we're making a slight shift to news and views, and I thought having a Rings of Power episode was kind of a good transition into that. We normally would have 3 main topics and then hit you guys with our recommendations, But what I found out is when I was building out show notes that a lot of the time it was like I was struggling to pick up some random like scrap of news that I'm like, neither of us really care about, but we could talk about for 3 minutes. And I felt like restructuring it so that we have two main topics that we're passionate about discussing, and then we'll wrap it up with our recommendations. It makes for a shorter, tighter show and also maybe more interesting conversation. So don't expect us to be talking about Green Hornet again anytime soon.
I forgot we talked about that.
Yeah,
oh,
I did.
Man.
I did too. And then
I have no idea whether or not I'll even see that.
Fair enough. All right, but as Scott alluded to, we will be talking about the Rings of Power, but being that might be the bulk of conversation, we are going to save that for the second half of the show. What we do want to talk about is San Diego Comic-Con, SDCC, coming up this year. And of course, I've never been. I don't know if I ever will go, but the amount of news that comes out absolutely just is a tsunami across the internet. We get trailers. Unlike Star Wars Celebration, most of the trailers shown at Comic-Con, or a good chunk of them, seem to come online within a day. So looking forward to that. Marvel has been skipping out the last couple Comic-Cons. Kevin Feige and the MCU team will be there this year and are expected to unveil their plans moving forward. As Kevin Feige alluded to, the plans for the MCU will become much clearer soon. I'm assuming this is that soon.
I assume they're going to probably drop of all the things that they have. I assume Black Panther or Wakanda Forever is going to be the big trailer. If we get one, that would be the one coming up that I assume, because they've already been putting out teaser art and things like that, that would be coming.
Garth McMurray is too funny. Looking forward to Rings of Power. Who do you think will play Jon Stewart, Hal Jordan, and Kilowog? Those are the Rings of Power.
Boy, that's been going. How many people have we had like fan cast? Tyrese Gibson as Jon Stewart, Common as Jon Stewart. Many actors have been pegged for the role.
I had my Jon
Michael
Stewart
B. Jordan as Jon Stewart.
figured out.
Of course, he's everything.
And I don't remember what it was. I knew, I was like, oh, I have the perfect casting for Jon Stewart, and I forgot. So apparently it wasn't that perfect.
Idris Elba.
Oh, he's
too old for it.
He was also in Suicide Squad.
That means nothing. well, then bring back Will Smith, because that Suicide Squad technically didn't exist, other than the remnant being blown up in the beginning of the new Suicide Squad.
Yeah. All right. So I have pulled up here. We're going to scroll through some of this. I have some scheduling for SDCC, and we'll just run through the schedules for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and just talk about what we feel like talking about. Thursday, we're looking at Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, which is the new movie with Chris Pine, which sounds like it might be a fair bit of fun. Can you still hear me okay? I'm getting a little internet warnings.
I got you.
Okay. Masters of the Universe 40 years celebration inside Severance. If you haven't watched Severance on, is it Apple TV or HBO? I've forgotten, but I binged Severance. It's a fantastic show with Adam Scott, John Turturro, Christopher Walken, as we were talking about before the show. And then we got Andy Serkis, Scout Comics, and Thunder presentation. I don't know what that is. I know who Andy Serkis is, obviously.
Not sure, but let me just say, I can't believe you skipped over Shatner on Shatner as in Hall H.
Oh, I did. Really, which is brought on by Kevin Smith, I believe.
Yeah, but the Andy Serkis thing, man.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis is going to be, anytime to sit down and listen to him talk about stuff would be well worth the time spent. Andy Serkis is not only an incredible, he's a very good director. He is the preeminent figure in mocap, and then also as an actor, he's outstanding as a voice actor. He does incredible work. And if he's working with a comic book company in order to put on a presentation. I'm not sure what it all entails, but I'd be down to catch whatever that is.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting bits there. Thursdays usually, I mean, for anyone that's been to Emerald City Comic Con, Thursday's kind of your warm up day. There's not a lot of huge news, a lot of celebrating legacies of things. You don't your headliners. It's cool that we have Dungeons and Dragons there, but I think that movie's quite a ways out still, so it's not surprising that they have that on the Thursday slot. Are you ready to move on to Friday?
No, and I'd say Masters of the Universe. We've been hearing a lot about He-Man for a while. In Masters of the Universe, odds are we'll get a tiny teaser
and like 2 animated
of what they're
shows.
working toward. Yeah, like, that animated trailer when it dropped, man, that had full 80s rock vibe, and really got you pumped up. It was pretty sweet, but I'm excited to see if they're going to really build on that, or maybe add something, or maybe give like a 1-minute video of like the first minute of the very first episode, one of those types of things, just to get people back remotivated. But Friday is where it's really at, because the very first thing on Friday is what I will be tuning.
Take it.
Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, 10:30 to noon. They already released the full trailer. Yeah, they already released the full trailer.
A clip, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, it would make sense because that's going to be a couple weeks removed, and Comic-Con is at the end of the month. So, yeah, I mean that gives them a 5-week lead up. A clip would be a perfect segue after the trailer they dropped. So I could totally see that.
I agree.
Marvel Studios animation. Not sure what to expect out of that, but it should be cool. AMC taking on the next step with the Tales of the Walking Dead. I don't know if that's just a panel telling stories from when they were manufacturing it, or is this a new series they're popping out?
I think Tales of the Walking Dead is the 3rd series. So we had Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead. I think Tales of the Walking Dead is the next one. I could be mistaken.
And then followed directly by the actual Walking Dead. And then Rick and Morty, the Vindicators screening and Q&A. It's weird. Rick and Morty have this massive cult following.
They really do.
Yeah, people are either, I have no idea what it is, or they're massively in love with it. And the people who don't like it are the people who pretend I don't know what this is. So
listen, I gave Rick and Morty a fair shake, and I respect the fans of the series. It doesn't resonate with me. But I've also, call it blasphemy. I never really got into South Park either. And that also has a huge, massive following. Some of those things just don't line up.
Early South Park, I was more in when I was a teenager, but now at 40 and they're still cranking them out. I'm like, it's like The Simpsons. I moved past that a long time ago. Still good show, and I still have an appreciation for it. But the great thing is with South Park is they can produce those so fast. They can be culturally relevant and pan things that are happening literally a week ago and put that into a show. But the biggest thing, this Berserker.
Have you seen anything? So like Berserker started coming out, I think, a year or two ago, the comic, and it was like this immortal warrior. I don't know what the Immortal Saga continues means. I don't know if it's a continuation of the comic, like their next chapter, if they're looking at taking it to live action or something. I know Keanu Reeves really wants to shepherd this project, and it's kind of his little creative, it's his baby. And I'd be curious to see what they do with it. I don't know a whole lot about Berserker. Anyone that does in the comments, please, let us know.
And tip of the hat to Koi Jandrau, who's going to be hosting that panel for Berserker.
That's true.
Which is huge. And Koi drafting my man here, Jesse Swift, a year and a half ago into the Schmodown. Beginning what this whole entire thing was built on.
That's true. Quirky Mercs. So that
again, I'm with you. I don't know a mountain about Berserker, but I've seen bits of it, but I haven't actually read the comics or the stories. So I'm curious to see where this will go, and with a continuation, the big question is, do they put it into some TV show / live action movie type of adaptation? How do they take it?
And
Which I think would be
Noel
awesome.
Gonzalez talking about Marvel Phase 5 and Captain America 4. When we get to talking about Marvel, we will discuss that somewhat. We're looking forward to hearing more about what the MCU's got going on. I still remain an avid, optimistic Marvel fan, and I have not been disheartened by the franchise or by the phase like a fair chunk of people have been. So I do. I'm going to try to stop saying looking forward to, but that's kind of what SDCC is all about. Is all the things that we're looking forward to and getting more excited for them. There's also going to be a panel for Archer. Again, something that's not really up my avenue, but if you're excited for Archer, I'm excited for you. So Friday, I think it really starts off with a bang, and then a little bit more of the popular niche stuff. You know, the Walking Dead has its fan, Rick and Morty has its fans, stuff like that. Saturday usually and always is the big one.
Yeah, people sit around all day waiting for this.
Right. The first thing out of the gate is Warner Brothers Theatrical, and it's Comic-Con. So you know that it's just basically an anagram for DC films. Now, let's talk for a second about what we expect to see and what
Black
we don't
Adam.
expect to see. Yeah.
Definitely Black Adam. I think maybe a teaser for Shazam Fury of the Gods. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think
those are the two biggest things they have coming up. They already Batman hit earlier this year, so that's moved past.
We're not going to talk about Flash.
I have a feeling they're going to try and skirt the topic of Ezra Miller quite heavily.
Yeah. And I think because it was recently announced to be a theatrical release now, I think we get something for Blue Beetle. Something. I don't know if it's going to be a lot, a teaser. Batgirl, I'm not sure because it does say Warner Brothers Theatrical. And there was news that came out recently that Batgirl is going to be released in theaters in the UK, but still HBO Max in the US, accompanied by the news that it's being pushed back to 2023. A lot of us speculating that has to do with the fact that Michael Keaton is both in The Flash and Batgirl, and I don't think you can have one without the other, so they can't do Batgirl until Flash releases.
Well, and Flash, there is so much rumor going around on whether they're going to redo that to lift Ezra Miller out. It's just sad because this property they've been holding for years now, trying to get to the market with COVID and everything else, and they finally get it done, and then Ezra Miller can't help himself but to hit women or push them or whatever he does and go nuts. And now you've got this whole entire thing that's just, I'll be honest, I would not be shocked if Warner just bit the bullet, pushed it to max to get it out, and moved on.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's, even if it did marginal in the theaters, you're going to have a lot of people avoid it just because of Ezra Miller and his actions, which is, you know, it's sad because that movie had the potential with Ben Affleck, with Michael Keaton, everybody going to be involved in that. It could have been a monster, but now it's looking like this tainted property they can't even do anything with. And I swear every other day I see a different person they want to recast as Barry Allen in that and refilm it.
I feel terrible for David Zaslav. You know, that he is coming from Discovery, thinking he's getting this big win by purchasing or acquiring Warner Brothers, and he just really gets a pile of shite on his desk that's like, here's Ezra Miller, deal with it. And all the mess that's been done with the DC universe. I mean, we've talked about it ad nauseum for multiple years, so I'm not going to waste too much more breath on it, but it is a mess, and just trying to wrap your head around cleaning that up sounds exhausting. But Warner Bros. Theatrical, I would say not quite starting off with a bang, but starting off with something. You know what? I'm looking at this schedule. 11. Oh, okay. Yeah. 10:15 a.m. So yeah, just starting the morning off with a pretty big studio, but I don't know how exciting what we see is going to be. I was a little underwhelmed by the Black Adam trailer. I hope we see Fury of the Gods footage.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Or, a dream come true. Let's see Henry Cavill as Man of Steel again, but we won't get off on that tangent because we'll never get forward. I do like the idea that I'll be honest, Warner Brothers theatrical, being that it's comics and it's Comic-Con, I can't really imagine them doing much else. And so I have a feeling this is going to be kind of a lackluster moment, unless they're really just going to bring out like The Rock for an interview type of panel thing and have him share some stuff, and maybe Zachary Levi.
This is my favorite comment of the day. Ezra Miller and Amber Heard will be spun off into an alternate universe called the DCEU.
that is beautiful, Garth. Well done. The it just, again, it's tainted, and what could have been really exciting and build up is now looks like poor Warner Brothers. They probably booked this time and then everything fell apart, and now they're like, great, we got to lead off Saturday with nothing. Or they're gonna rush some stuff from Fury of the Gods just to have some content to show and share with us. The next thing on there is The Simpsons. I keep wondering to myself, at what point is Matt Groening going to announce the end of the run for The Simpsons? We're talking 30 plus years now. They've been doing this.
That's crazy.
How many more has he got in the tank? Because the actors, a lot of them are probably now getting close to retirement age. Do they want to keep voicing these characters? Do they want to keep investing in this? Who knows? Yeah. House of Dragons is the next big one. We spent a decent chunk of time on that.
Yeah, I am remaining optimistic. I hope Matt Smith can finally be involved in a winning franchise or property outside of Doctor Who, because I think he's had a rough go of it in Hollywood and is often put in things that just... He was cut out of Rise of Skywalker, is my understanding. He was in Terminator Genesis, which many people regard to be the worst of the franchise. I don't know if I quite agree, but it's right down there at the bottom. He just really hasn't been able to break out in Hollywood. Oh, and then Morbius, of course.
Morbius, yeah. That was he was one of the highlights of Morbius, but that movie was not his fault.
Right. So seeing him as a Targaryen in this House of Dragon has me excited. The prequel, this is a prequel series to Game of Thrones, of course, and seems to be far enough removed that they could tell some really interesting stories, and it's a whole new cast of characters, new people to get invested in, and also we don't know what's going to happen unless you're a diehard. You might not know the outcome or fates of any of these characters, other than they're all dead by the time Game of Thrones starts. But I'm looking forward to it until given a reason not to be. If that's fair. I don't know where you are on this franchise.
Oh, which one? The
House of Dragon.
Oh, yeah. Again, I wasn't the biggest guy on Game of Thrones. I know that's sacrilege to say. I've watched 2 of the seasons, the first 2. But at some point I do need to sit down and go through it all. From what I hear, the final season is the best. And then, but I am excited for this earlier stuff. I love lore and history that builds to a universe. That's why I'm such a Tolkien fan. And of the Silmarillion. So I'm excited for this. An earlier storyline that kind of helps set the stage for what we got in I almost said Lord of the Rings, but in the Game of Thrones series. So I think this has a lot of good potential, and it's got a lot of really good quality people behind it. And I'm a Matt Smith fan. I like Doctor Who. And clearly he's shown in a series like this, he could be a lead. And so this gives him a chance to stretch himself a little bit, do something different. And I think it's a good casting as well. So, yeah. I mean, I'm not like, this doesn't have me pumped to the point like I'm waiting for release day, but I'll give it a go. I'm going to definitely watch this. I'll be more prone to watch this from the beginning through than I will be to go back and rewatch Game of Thrones.
Far less daunting, and being that it's HBO Max, there'll be weekly releases, so that's pretty easy to keep up on.
You can digest it a little easier.
Moving on to a huge franchise, and this makes me wonder if we're going to get any movie news, but Star Trek Universe, which has actually absolutely been taking off in Paramount Plus with Picard, I think, entering its 3rd season, Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Star Trek Upper Decks. There's currently like 6 ongoing running Star Trek shows right now on Paramount Plus. I haven't yet, being that I do not have Paramount Plus, I haven't taken the dive into any of these shows, but I was a fan of the J.J. Abrams helmed 2 movies in the Justin Lin Star Trek Beyond. I think those movies are a lot of fun. They were really my introduction to Star Trek. I have since gone back and watched Wrath of Khan, The Voyage Home, and one other one. I don't remember which one. So it's hard for me to say that I'm like an avid Star Trek fan, but I'm curious to see what announcements come out of this. Are we going to get that 4th Star Trek film with Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth? That's what I really wanted with the time traveling and the Kirks together. But is there anything that you're expecting to see or want to see from a Star Trek panel?
Patrick Stewart's amazing. So if they can bring him back out, and if you can get a good sit down with Patrick Stewart and Chris Pine,
Sir Patrick Stewart,
Sir Patrick Stewart, I apologize. They're clearly doing something right, and they've touched a nerve. Their Trekkies are one of the original reasons we have Comic-Con style stuff. Star Trek conventions preceded Star Wars type of conventions. Trekkies were into it way before that, when it became a movement, and then other people started kind of pigpiling on that. And so the great thing is now with all this new material, you have people who are hardcore Trekkies back in the day in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and now into the thousands.
It's a generational thing now.
Exactly. They're passing it to their kids and their grandkids who are all equally in love with these series. Trekkers, sir. Sorry, Garth. I thought it was Trekkies because I grew up in the 80s and that's what they called them. And that's when I started watching the shows. But it's great because they're building off. They've touched a nerve. They're having great success. It's literally buoying Paramount. I mean, I think that and Yellowstone are the biggest reason to get Paramount. And I'm excited for any
certainly
extra
not for Halo. I'll tell you that.
No, that did not ring as well. But I liked what you talked about. I would love to see the time travel issue addressed and have Chris Hemsworth take on Kirk's father, the other Captain Kirk, again, because what a sweet kind of cameo he had in the very first Star Trek movie as Kirk's father.
Back in 2009, 2 years before we saw him as Thor.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really know. I'm not as in tune with Star Trek. Oh, cool. Garth letting us know that Dan Merle shared in his Patreon a great Picard Season 2 review video. Should be public soon, so make sure to check that out. Dan Merle's an awesome guy with really well-constructed thoughts and reviews and stuff like that. All right, so listen, I know that today, or on this day, Saturday, when all these things are coming out, everyone's waiting for the Marvel Studios panel. They're waiting for all the announcements to come, trailers, casting news, Fantastic Four. That's great. I'm also looking forward to that. But however, after the Star Trek panel comes the Sandman special video presentation and Q&A. This is all I care about. This is all that matters to me, is this panel. Marvel will keep marveling, and I'm grateful for that. But we are quickly approaching the premiere of Sandman, I believe August 5th on Netflix, a full 10-episode, hour-long episodes covering the first 2 volumes of the graphic novel series written by Neil Gaiman, of course. This has been my obsession ever since I discovered it on Audible with James McAvoy, Kat Dennings, and just a phenomenal cast. I have thought of little else besides Sandman. And then I went and read the giant, the collection's like this thick. It's pretty huge. Tom Sturridge is going to be playing Morpheus or Dream or the Sandman. You're going to have Charles Dance in it from Game of Thrones, like we were talking earlier. It's a fantastic cast. The story's incredible. If you don't know anything about the Sandman, look it up. Look up like a 10, 15-minute summary of it, or if you have Audible, listen to it. Scott, I believe you said you promised you'd start listening to that at some point soon.
I do. I will be listening to it very soon, and I'm trying to get it done before the series starts.
You are.
So I've got 3 weeks.
Yeah, you're getting close. So I think because there's 2 acts right now, the first act, if I remember correctly, should cover what the series is going to cover. So you don't have to listen to both acts to be ready for the show. So it's not
okay.
Right. So I think you got
perfect.
about somewhere between 9 to 12 hours. And also,
dude, that's 2 days at work done.
There you go. Absolutely. So yeah, I could gush about the Sandman. I want to. I'm very excited for this. I hope we get maybe one more final trailer that shows a little bit more. The last trailer did give us a little bit of the scope and some of the special effects, and it does look incredible. Also, speaking of Game of Thrones, Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer. So that's exciting. Sandman. Yeah. Looking forward to it. Moving on from the Sandman, Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire. Is that the author of the book, Interview with a Vampire? Are they doing a new movie? I don't know what this is.
I think it's like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It is the author.
Okay.
And so it's just a way of repackaging it with the author's name, because there are certain types of stories that different people have taken liberties with. Such as there's a million iterations of vampires out there. And so Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire is specifically pointing to her version of this, which I think the Interview with a Vampire, it is different than the Interview with a Vampire with Tom Cruise.
Legal has the update for us, said it wrote Interview with a Vampire and they're doing a show. Cool. Perfect. So I'm assuming we're not going to get Antonio Banderas, Brad Pitt, Kirsten Dunst, and Tom Cruise. But interesting to see what they do with a show.
I like that they're doing a show as well, because you can pull a lot more out of that.
Yeah.
But the character Lestat is awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to start zipping through these because we do have a major Lord of the Rings talk to do. Yeah. Well, and a major one in here. Players of Mythic Quest. I don't know much about that. Is Mythic Quest the Apple TV show about gaming? I don't remember. I believe so. And then I'll really quickly cover Back with a Vengeance, Chucky, another season of Chucky. I didn't get to watch the first one because I think it was on, I don't know if it was on Sci-Fi. It was on something I don't have. I was planning on watching it. It was not on any streaming service that I have. I heard it's fantastic though. So let's wrap up with the really big one for today. Speculation abound. We've talked about this. We've speculated what they will show, but Marvel Studios, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm very tempted to do a special show next Saturday night and talk about Marvel announcements. Haven't talked about it with you guys, but I think that would be a lot of fun. If you guys that are watching right now have any interest in that, let us know if you'd want to come hang out and talk about Marvel announcements and things like that. But Scott, what do you think we'll see? We talked a little bit about Wakanda Forever.
I think we're going to see one of those giant, probably whether or not we get a trailer or a small tease or more imagery from Wakanda Forever. I think that's a must for this. I also believe that we're going to see one of those things where they show the giant timeline. It's a big line bar. They're going to pop the movies as they're coming out.
And are they going to announce the Secret Wars at the end or something at the end?
Yeah, some big tease out there, or maybe some tease of maybe who the big baddie is going to be, and how they're going to portray that. What's great is now we're post Miss Marvel, so maybe we're going to get something from the Marvels,
or something relating to mutants.
We did have the Carol Danvers post-credit teaser. So there's a lot they could build off, and with that show being complete pre this, they don't have to worry about spoilers or anything by revealing that. And if we know in Marvel, if you have not seen the show within a week of its release, you cannot complain about spoilers because you can't avoid the internet. Yeah. No. And so if you want to avoid it, you've got limited days to be able to digest the information. So they have a lot of potential because we know the Marvels is coming, mutants, Secret Wars. We have Wakanda Forever. Thor 17 is coming. All the good stuff. Captain America 4.
Quantumania.
Quantumania.
We're probably going to get some She-Hulk stuff.
Is She-Hulk the next streaming release?
Yes. Okay. It's next month, I believe. I believe we had She-Hulk and Andor next month.
That's right.
And Sandman. And then September, I believe, is Lord of the Rings. And Game of Thrones.
I'm sorry, all I heard was Lord of the Rings. That's all I cared about.
And House of the Dragon, I think, is late August, early September, or something like that. It's going to be it's funny. I was looking down the pipeline at movies, and for the next like couple months, other than like the occasional Nope or Bullet Train or something like that, it's all about streaming. There's not a lot of like huge movies. It's going to be streaming wars all over the place, and I'm kind of excited for it. Just hunker down, watch some shows. Looking forward to. It says X-Men confirmed at SDCC. I'll have to see the report. If you have a link, feel free to share it with us. I'm with a lot of people though. You announced Fantastic Four like 2 years ago, and the only announcement that we've had for Fantastic Four was basically unannounced because it was that John Watts was going to be directing it, and now he's not. So we have nothing on this movie other than the fact that it is going to exist. I would love a director.
We do know in an alternate universe, John Krasinski is Mr. Fantastic. The question is he Mr. Fantastic in this universe?
And I'm perfectly fine. There's a lot of people that say like now he has to be. I'm perfectly fine if he's not, honestly. I thought it was cool to have him, but there's just so many people in Hollywood, and it's all about how well they work together. And there's so many fun like fan casts and stuff like that. And what encourages me is that people are like, hey, cast your Fantastic Four. And I'm now seeing such a plethora of people not having John Krasinski as Reed Richards and casting a whole bunch of different things. I was like, good. So we can move on for that. So if he's somebody else, we're not like, pitchforks and torches.
Can we just avoid Jamie Bell as the Thing?
Listen, there's no single finger to point at Fan Four Stick other than Fox.
Oh man. No, you can point it at a dumpster.
Yeah.
That's what you can point at for that movie.
Right into the dumpster.
It is a trash fire.
So yeah, all right, I want news on that. Marvels, I'm trying to think. There's probably some big things I'm forgetting. There's just been so much. Oh, you know what? In, I believe, just like a couple months. I mean, we got Guardians Christmas special. Are they going to hint at that at all? You got Werewolf by Night. I swear it's supposed to be around Halloween time, like October or something like that. So that's also not far away. And I think that was said to be not a series, but a Disney Plus movie. And that might possibly tie into Moon Knight. So I don't know. Fantastic Four release date. Also, give me a Blade release date. Blade was also announced like 2 years ago.
Guardians 3.
Yeah, Volume 3. It's been filming.
There's a mountain of stuff now out here that we can go, okay. What,
give me our first look at Adam Warlock. Yeah. It's time.
That'd be so awesome. You want to, oh man. Okay. We'll get off on a tangent for a while, but I think, by the way, the casting, Poulter, is that his last name?
Will Poulter.
Will Poulter.
You got it.
What a perfect pick, in my opinion, for Adam Warlock. And you can't look at Will Poulter in his younger days, like Prince Caspian type of stuff. You got to look at him now as a man that he's grown up. Man, he has the potential to really do something awesome with this. Werewolf by Night might be Halloween special at Disney. Okay.
Really quick, we do have a Streamlabs from the one Garth Harkness McMurray. Thank you so much, Garth. And I'll read this off because you don't have access to Streamlabs at the moment. I'm sorry. If we had more Scott, or if we had Sean work in the background, he might be able to put it out there, but it's all right. All right. Earlier, you asked for more info on Berserker. On March 22nd, 2021, Netflix announced it was developing a live-action film adaptation and a follow-up anime series based on the comics with Reeves cast as the lead. The Hall H panel should have new news. Great.
All right.
You know what? I haven't really, other than Sandman, I haven't been sitting down and reading comics as much as I should or as much as I would like. Maybe Berserker is something I'll go and pick up. Check that out.
I've heard really good stuff about it. The problem is free time. I currently have about this much, and I squeeze in news and views and some speakeasies into this much free time, and it's only when my kids are asleep or doing something else, or I'm not working one of 3 jobs. Yeah, and sneaking out to a movie in the middle of the night and sacrificing sleep to stay informed about what we're talking about.
Fair enough. Moving on to so we'll leave Marvel Studios behind, but if you guys still want to talk about it in the chat, we can revisit it a little bit. But we got to get on to Sunday. We got to get on the Rings of Power because I am starting personal training today, so I'm on a tight schedule. Moving on to Sunday. So I'm really excited about this. I don't
What we
think
do in
there's
the
going to be
shadows.
anything really. Yeah, I don't think there's really anything for us to talk about or will be that weekend. But anything having to do with what we do in the shadows. When we got around to our recommendations for this episode, I was going to recommend everyone get caught up because season 3 of What We Do in the Shadows just started. Or is it season 4? I don't know, but I've watched it.
I will be diving into that one as soon as I finish. I've only got a little bit to be fully caught up on Our Flag Means Death, but literally anything Taika Waititi does is just gold.
This wasn't inspired by Taika's film, and he shows up in a couple episodes, but it is really more so helmed by Jermaine Clement, who, is very much in the same spirit.
Oh, yeah.
This show's
fellow
a blast.
Kiwi from New Zealand.
And without spoiling too much, the season delves into baby Colin Robinson, and if you know anything about that, it is just nightmare fuel in the most hysterical way. So What We Do in the Shadows is having an exclusive screening. I don't know if it's some future episodes or something at Comic-Con. So that's fun. And really, that's all they have put on there for Sunday. So that's
Sunday's agenda is like, we're just going to play this one panel and call it a day.
Well, Sundays at Emerald City is literally you just go around, get your comics signed, go comic shopping, buy art prints. There's nothing big, really. It's the people are packing up and going home. Sundays are honestly the chill day. You run around like crazy Friday and Saturday.
You don't want to be the one following everything that came on Saturday, because Saturday is such a big fire day that what are you going to try and outdo that on Sunday? Good luck.
I feel like Sundays for really like the comic fans. I feel like you got authors and artists and stuff that will hang around in the Comic-Con, and the crowd dies down a little bit, and you have your chance to go out and do those things. Thursdays and Fridays, I would say. Or sorry, Thursdays and Sundays. Fridays and Saturdays, pretty packed. So let us know in the comments what you're most looking forward to. And Our Flag Means Death is fantastic. I've watched it through twice now. It's a great show. Recommend it. HBO Max. So yeah, I think now we've covered some San Diego Comic-Con, and we will be talking about it much more next weekend, I'm sure. But let's shift gears here over to the Rings of Power. Scott, I know this is the moment you've been waiting for. Hopefully you got some of it out of your system last night during the speakeasy with your surprise popping up in there.
I didn't mean to take over the show and nerd out, but I could not help myself. It was too good.
And to help guide the conversation, obviously, for those of you that don't know, and I'm sure everybody watching this show knows, we got our first real look at the Rings of Power with a full 2-minute trailer. It wasn't just a 1-minute theme tease or a couple vague posters. We got a little bit of the story. We got some looks into the epic scale, some of the VFX, some of the characters that we're going to meet and see and grow attached to. And I'm really excited about it. But Scott, one of the things I want to do is, what's this? Who's this?
That's a Harfoot. And those are the predecessors of the Shire folk, the Hobbits. I don't know the character's name specifically, but that is the Harfoot people are the ones who become the Hobbits down the road.
Okay. This was actually in the previous trailer, but tell me something about this. Do we know what this is?
That is some form of orc / something that is part of some bastardization that Melkor and Sauron take what was made great and they manipulate it into something terrible. And so that is an orc beast of some sort.
Ooh, I like it. And then the orcs originated from the elves, correct?
Correct. They are a mutation of the elves.
Do we know who this character is?
The evil people could not create that. To the best of my knowledge, is I think Gil-galad.
Oh, okay. I heard you guys talking about him quite a bit last night. What is the importance or relevance of Gil-galad, especially in this time period in the Middle-earth?
He is the last king of the elves. And he helps lead the last alliance between men, dwarves, and elves in the battle against Sauron, where Sauron is defeated. If that is Gil-galad, and I believe that is correct on him.
Oh, okay. So did we see Gil-galad at all in the Fellowship of the Ring prologue, or is he just assumed to be there?
No, he is. In the very beginning war, you see a glimpse of somebody wearing armor and elvish armor, and then they cut over to Elendil and Isildur, and Elrond is in there as obviously the herald. Elrond serves as a marshal for the the prequel to Shang-Chi. Yes, the Elrond serves as the herald of Gil-galad. Basically, he's one of the main leaders within his army.
Okay. A couple more for you, and then we could just talk shop, general talk about the trailer because I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I don't know if we know who this dwarf is, but what is he holding? Do we know?
That is believed to be Mithril, which is silver steel, which is what Bilbo's coat of mail that is indestructible that he gives to Frodo is made out of. It is the most precious metal on Earth. It is what the mines of Moria create, and that is believed to be Durin. And whether it's the first Durin, and in Lord of the Rings lore, there's like 7 kings of the dwarves who take the name of Durin at different times and follow it. And so it could be any one of them, but it's that is believed to be Durin and Silmaril, or not Silmaril, but Mithril.
Okay. Well, I love this, and we do really have to make the show. I don't know if we're gonna cut talking about Tolkien.
Oh, there we go. Hold on. Oswayne Arthur as Prince Durin the Fourth. Okay, I was correct. It was one of the Durins.
Okay.
Yes, there are so many Durins. That's the hard part. Oh, and I really hope they have a chance to show the Mirror, where this pool, enchanted pool, on one side of Moria, where it's you can see the stars reflected from the sky, and it's a cool nerd out thing in the book. But Gimli makes it a point to take Frodo to look within the Mirror, which this black pool that you can see, it's just in almost enchanted water. Sorry, nerding out.
No, that's perfect. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. The last picture I have here, because as we were talking about before the show, half the internet decided to stop using JPEGs, so I can only upload certain ones to StreamYards. Do we know what this battle is?
That I believe is going to be the battle where they battle Sauron, unless that is a flashback to the War of Wrath or the Battle of Unnumbered Tears. There are many battles in the first. So the show is set in the Second Age. In the First Age is where they battle Morgoth. Second Age they battle Sauron. Third Age they battle Sauron again. And I believe this is going to be one of the battles. Either it's a flashback to a battle from the First Age, or this is the battle where they're trying to take down Sauron. And those are elvish soldiers.
And those seem to be orcs that they're fighting. And I gotta say, yes, one of the biggest things that excites me is when they first showed images of the orcs, and I said, thank you. We're going back to practical, going back to makeup. And people are like, how is this show costing $400 million, about $40 million an episode, 3 times or more than a Game of Thrones episode? This is why. It's the lack of shortcuts. It's the attention to detail. It's the sets. It's the makeup, the prosthetics, the travel, all those things that really matter when trying to get fully immersed into
practical effects. Make all the difference. And Lego's commented that's supposed to be Finrod. If that's the case, I believe Finrod is Galadriel's brother. And Finrod Felagund is he is the king of Nargothrond, which is a cave realm. But he actually goes with Beren and helps save Beren, and gives his life in defense of him. But he also helped. Okay, I'll go off on a tangent. But he helped. The green ring that Aragorn gets. Well, that green ring was made by Finrod Felagund, and he gave that ring to Beren, Beren's father, and it was passed down generation to generation all the way through until it reached Aragorn, who was wearing the same ring, which was kind of given as a a show of relationship between the elves and men, because Finrod was the first one to really embrace the race of men as fellow citizens in Middle Earth, whereas a lot of the Eldar thought lesser, or the elves thought lesser of the line of men. Sorry.
No, I am so like overwhelmed in the best way with like all this knowledge, and I know that there's certain things that I can dive into. I think when you started, I was like, oh, I can go into Dune like that, and then the longer you go, I'm like, no, I can't. I'm trying to think of like the closest I can. Maybe right now it's Sandman. I could like if I really wanted to, I just dive into it. But we're so close to the release. I'm just like, you know what, experience it, and I don't want to give so much away that people are discouraged from reading. It's like, oh, I know everything now. No. Go learn and educate yourself. But there's just so much Tolkien lore, and I can't wait to learn more about it. And
there are 2 battles, and I hope they harken back. Now, I don't know if you were able to get the fire picture where she's talking about her.
I was
her
trying, and I could not.
That picture makes me think of the War of Wrath, or since she has seen so much, possibly the Fall of Gondolin, where it was set to fire by dragons and taken by night, and just mass devastation. Was the last stronghold kingdom for the elves against Morgoth before Tuor and Idril's son Arundel, who's Elrond's father, went to Valinor to plead with them for the case of elves and man to come and take over.
What was the name of Elrond's father again?
Arundel.
And
Arundel.
Do we know if we will see him, or have we seen him already in the show?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But he wears the Silmaril in the sky. So when he went to Valinor, he wore the Silmaril, and then he was set in the sky, and he actually defeated Calagon the Black, the leader of all the dragons, in a fight in the sky from his ship, which flies through the sky, versus the dragon and Calagon.
It's got a flying ship.
So awesome. But I also want to say, yes, he was Vingalot is his ship. And but I also want to say there's 2 battles. Fëanor goes to fight and call out Morgoth and ends up battling and dying, fighting a whole lot of Balrogs, and Gothmog gives the killing blow to finally kill him. But there's that battle, and then Fingolfin, another one of Fëanor's sons, goes to battle Morgoth in one-on-one combat and almost wins. Man, I hope they find some way to sneak some of that stuff in, because it's an epic battle in the books. And then on top of that, with the fall of Gondolin, there's an elvish lord named Ecthelion who kills Gothmog, the leader of all the Balrogs, and it's a wonderful battle, and they basically kill each other and falling to death within the fountain in Gondolin. But there's some epic battles that happen and take place that include elves, men. There's one-on-one combat stuff. There's so much to pull from that they can make a really, really, really rich background stories. The images are wonderful, and I just want more.
Anyone that thinks it's going to be slow or boring, I said anyone that thinks it's going to be slow or boring, I've heard it's going to have like more action than any show like ever.
Yeah.
Also, this is big Scott energy right here.
Oh my gosh, dude, that was one of my favorite lines in all the shows. Like in Winter Soldier or Falcon Winter Soldier, when that line came up, I was like, oh my gosh, making my heart pitter patter there.
Bucky is now Scott's new favorite character.
Big fan.
Yeah, so that's going to be a whole endeavor doing. Hopefully, we can commit, because like if there was ever a time for me to have a call to action for you on like a weekly episode outside of news and views, we need you on Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I will be there. Lego's comment: Fëanor's sons are a whole thing. They deserve their own whole epic. Yes, 7 sons, and they are a train wreck. Train wreck.
Yes.
But also awesome.
Okay, well, we are quickly approaching our hour mark, so let's wrap it up with our what are we reading and watching and recommendations for the week before we say goodbye and things like that. Scott, it's been a couple weeks without news and views, so let's catch up with you. What have you been digesting in the way of content?
Well, I was on a road trip, so I listened to my standards of Harry Potter, some Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion. Those are kind of my go-tos while I'm driving because I
Sounds
know
like
the
you were
story so
listening
well.
to things that were not the Sandman. That's interesting. Interesting developments here.
Again, I didn't want to do that to Sandman because while you're driving, you're also slightly distracted by not dying. And I drove through some weird, windy weather that made you white knuckle grip your RV. Because when the wind hits you in an RV, it makes
literally
you feel
hits
like you're
different.
going to blow off the road. When it hits your car, like, ooh, it's a little breezy out. When it hits your RV, you're like, we're going to die. And then you stay on the road and you survive it. But I am listening to those. But I just started the audiobook, and I'll be able to give you a better recap. But Child Zero, and I just want to read this brief little description here. It began 4 years ago with a worldwide uptick in bacterial infections, meningitis in Frankfurt, cholera in Johannesburg, tuberculosis in New Delhi. Although the outbreak spread aggressively and proved impervious to our drugs of last resort, public health officials initially dismissed them as unrelated. They were wrong. Antibiotic resistance soon roiled across the globe. Diseases long thought beaten came surging back, and the death toll skyrocketed. Then New York was ravaged by the most heinous act of bioterror the world had ever seen, perpetrated by a new brand of extremists bent on pushing humanity to extinction. That is the first 2 paragraphs of the description of this book, which hooked me because, boy, that sounds a little too close to home.
Yeah.
And so Child Zero, yeah, I just got into the book. I'm gonna give that a read, and hopefully by next week I'll be able to tell you what my full thoughts are. But yeah, some of these it's like the movie Outbreak. You watch that and you're like, that's ridiculous, and then you watch it after 2022 and you're like, I could see it. I could totally see it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, as far as things that I have been ingesting lately, like I said earlier, What We Do in the Shadows has returned, and a glorious return it has been. Nadja is attempting to develop a vampire nightclub, which gives me immediate flashbacks to the opening sequence of the first Blade film. We now have a baby Colin Robinson, and just a lot of fun, nonsensical things happening in a mockumentary TV show style thing about vampires. So if you haven't checked that out, first do yourself a favor and watch the What We Do in the Shadows movie directed by Taika Waititi, and then follow up with the TV show, which is quite loosely connected. It's a lot of fun. I will say that the TV show is even less family friendly than the movie was, but that's your fair warning. Also, as Scott brought up, Our Flag Means Death came out several months ago, but still as relevant, still as good as it ever was. And yeah, other than that, just been working a bunch. So my recommendation is, support your family, keep a roof over their head, I guess.
I will add on Amazon Prime last night, I watched Eating Ourselves to Death. I love documentaries, and this one talked about the hazards and the troubles with essentially farming, not like monocrop farming, as well as factory farming for chickens and ranching, and a lot of the issues they have. But by the end of it, I love a good documentary that paints a picture of what's going on and what to look at. But I hate it when the very end turns into a sales pitch.
That's fair.
And the end of this documentary turned into a sales pitch to become a vegan. And nothing wrong with vegans. Maybe I could eat less meat, but I don't know if I can cut it out completely. But at the end of it just became a wholesale promotion for going vegan, which if that's your choice, go for it. But at the same time, I was like, wow, that took a weird left turn. That was a lot of information followed up by, here's the solution, go vegan.
It reminds me so much of Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec, where he was going to like some kind of therapy, and they were asking him, is there any history of mental illness in your family? And I think he said, my cousin's a vegan.
Yes. Yes. Oh man.
Ron Swanson, one of my favorite television characters.
One of my favorite parts is he goes to a restaurant and he says, yeah, bring me all the eggs and bacon. And the guy goes, okay. And the kid goes to step away and he grabs him and he goes, hold on. I think you didn't hear me right. I said, I think you heard me say, bring me some eggs and bacon. And what I said was, bring me all the eggs and bacon. And the kid looks at him like, okay. Yeah, Ron Swanson's the best.
Yes.
Just a perfect example of a character that's taken to the extreme on specific things, and he's absolutely awesome. That's not food. That's what food eats. Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. And this is this show, this channel is just a place and a format for everyone to share everything. So if you guys have recommendations, things that you've been watching, share it in the chat. Let us know. Maybe introduce us to something new, or introduce some of the other channel members to something new that they can explore and enjoy. Yeah, I mean, The Boys just wrapped up recently. That was quite a season of a thing.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah. So anyways, guys, I think that does it for us here. I got to go fill up my water bottle, drive 30 minutes to go do some personal training in Enumclaw, and nobody in this chat knows where that is.
No, I'm not far from Enumclaw. I'm going there today. Got to pick up chicken food.
There you go.
And we won Sean back. We won Sean back. Resubscribe. Thank you, Sean.
Hey. So we'll catch you guys on the next episode of News and Views. But before that, you'll see us on the Speakeasy next Friday, and then maybe doing a Comic-Con recap, hopefully Saturday night. Let's see if I can get enough people involved in doing that. But until next time, guys, keep it real. It's been a blast. We love you. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for supporting the channel. You rock. Keep it.